Okay, next we come to the topic of solving inequalities. The process of finding interval or intervals of numbers that satisfy a given inequality is called solving the inequalities. So what happens is that if you are given an inequality, then if you find all the numbers satisfying that inequality, it turns out to be a single interval or a collection of intervals. So the process of finding those intervals is called solving an inequality. So here we have an example where three inequalities are given. So let's see how to solve them. Basically, solving such inequalities is similar to solving equations. You have to apply the rules of algebra to solve such inequalities. In particular, those rules that pertain to inequalities, that is rules for inequalities that we saw previously. So in the first one we have this 2x minus 1 is less than x plus 3. This implies you can subtract x from both sides. Doing that, you will get on the left hand side you will have x minus 1, because 2x minus x will be x. On the right hand side, x minus x and minus x will cancel out and we will have 3, and then adding 1 to both sides we get x less than 4. So the solution set is the set of all real numbers strictly less than 4, and that is so because you can go back also. If you start from here, you will get this thing. So the thing here is this, you can interpret it like this: if x is a real number that satisfies this inequality, then x has to be less than 4. Conversely, if x is less than 4, then doing the calculation in the backwards direction tells us that such an x satisfies this inequality. For example, you can take x equal to 3. If you take 3 here, you will get 6 minus 1, 5. If you take 3 here, you get 6. So 5 is less than 6. So you can write this also, that these inequalities are actually equivalent. If one of them happens, then so does the other, and that's why the solution set is this interval, the set of all real numbers that are strictly less than 4. And if you draw this solution on the real line, it will look like this. Say this is 4. So the solution set will be the ray which represents all the points that lie to the left of 4, not taking 4 itself. Okay, so this is the graph of the solution set on the real line. B minus x by 3 is less than 2x plus 1. This implies we can simplify the situation by multiplying both sides by 3. That would give us minus x less than 6x plus 3. Now we can add x on both sides. That gives us 0 less than 5x plus 3. Now add minus 3 on both sides. That gives us this. And then we can multiply both sides by 1 by 5. Now 1 upon 5 is a positive real number, so the inequality will not change direction and we will get this. The converse is also true. If this is true, then you can multiply both sides by 5 to get this, and you can see that all the other steps also can be reversed. Hence, the solution set is, here x has to be greater than minus 3 by 5, is this ray. And accordingly, on the real line, if you try to draw this ray, then this is 0. Here on the left side of 0 you will have minus 3 by 5 somewhere, and the solution set is the set of all points that lie to the right of minus 3 by 5. That is the solution set. Part C, it seems somewhat complicated. It is more complicated than these two, because here we have to consider something extra in the beginning itself. It is given that this inequality has to be true. Note that if x is less than 1, then the left hand side becomes negative. But a negative number cannot be greater than or equal to 5. So x cannot be less than 1. At the same time, x cannot be equal to 1 also, because x minus 1 would then be 0, and we are not allowed to have 0 in the denominator, because division by 0 is undefined. So x has to be strictly greater than 1. For the inequality greater than or equal to 5, we need x minus 1 to be a positive real number. That is, x has to be greater than 1. And conversely also, if x is greater than 1, then the inequality makes sense. Under the condition x greater than 1, we have this because x is greater than 1, x minus 1 is a positive real number, so we can multiply on both sides by x minus 1 without affecting the inequality, without affecting the direction of the inequality. So 6 is greater than or equal to 5 times x minus 1. This becomes 6 greater than or equal to 5x minus 5. Add 5 on both sides, that gives us 11 is greater than or equal to 5x. So this implies now you divide on both sides by 5. That gives us this. Conversely, if you start from here and maintain this condition also, then even without this condition you can reach till this stage. Okay, this also will imply this, but after that you can, if you have this condition, then only you can divide both sides by x minus 1. So under that condition we have this. So here the solution set is x is greater than 1 and x is less than or equal to 11 by 5. So this is the solution set. It's not a ray, it's a finite interval. And if we draw the solution set on the real line, this is say 0, this is 1. So this will be how much? 11 divided by 5 is 2.2. So if this is 2, then this is here somewhere we will have 2.2. And the solution set will be the set of all points lying between 1 and 11 by 5, including the point 11 by 5 also. Okay, so this is the graph of the solution set on the real line. If you want, you can write an x here to show the positive side of the x-axis. Have I made a mistake here? It is 6x plus 3. So if see, I had to add x on both sides. So this is not 5x, this is 7x. Sorry about this. Minus 3 by 7. Next, absolute value. The absolute value of a real number x denoted by this symbol I need some ink. Denoted by this is defined as follows. Absolute value of x is defined to be equal to x if x is greater than or equal to 0 and minus x if x is less than 0. This is the definition of the absolute value of a real number. For example, this is given as example 2. Absolute value of 3 is equal to 3 because we know that 3 is a positive real number, so the absolute value by definition is 3 itself. Absolute value of 0 is equal to 0, again by definition. Absolute value of minus 5, because minus 5 is negative, so by definition it is minus of minus 5, that is equal to 5. And finally, the most confusing one is this. For every real number a. But why is the last one true, or how is it true? You notice one thing, the definition of absolute value says what? That it is a whenever a is greater than or equal to 0 and minus a when a is less than 0. So if a is greater than or equal to 0, then this is equal to a, so this is greater than or equal to 0. And if a is less than 0, then this is equal to minus a. But since a is less than 0, minus a is greater than 0. So in any case, the absolute value of a real number is always greater than or equal to 0. It is never negative. So that means this is a real number that is greater than or equal to 0. Now there are two cases. Either this is strictly greater than 0 or this is equal to 0. If this is equal to 0, then its negative is also equal to 0. So in that case, we will have 0, which is equal to this. If this turns out to be equal to 0, it's this case. And if this is the case, if absolute value of a is greater than 0, then its negative is less than 0. So by definition, so within the outer absolute value, that means this number is less than 0. So by definition, this is equal to minus of the number, and that is equal to a. So in any case, this is always equal to absolute value of a for every real number a. In fact, the next thing the author writes is this observation that absolute value is always non-negative. It's never negative. Note that this is greater than or equal to 0 for every real number x, and this is equal to 0 if and only if x is equal to 0. That means for a non-zero real number x, absolute value is also non-zero. In fact, that we can see from here itself. If a is non-zero, that means a is either positive or negative. If a is positive, then by definition absolute value is a itself, which is greater than 0. If a is negative, then absolute value is minus a, which is again greater than 0. So only when a is equal to 0 do we have absolute value equal to 0. And the converse is clearly true. When x is 0, then this is equal to 0. So that's why we have if and only if. So because of this non-negativity, we can have another expression for the absolute value. Since this represents the non-negative square root of a non-negative real number, we have absolute value of x equal to this. This is another formula for every real number x. How is this true? Let us see. Say x is positive, okay, or let us see the most trivial case. If x is equal to 0, then this by definition is 0, and this also is equal to 0. Why is this 0? By the way, what is the meaning of this square root of x square? Square root of x square is a real number whose square is equal to x square, or more simply, if a is a non-negative real number, then square root of a is defined to be a real number b such that b is also non-negative and b square is equal to a. This is the definition of square root of a. It's a non-negative real number whose square is equal to a. Now, if x is if x is 0, then on this side we have square root of 0. Now if 0 is a, then what is b? We can also take b to be 0. Why? Because 0 square is equal to 0. So if we choose this value of b equal to 0, b satisfies both these conditions. 0 is greater than or equal to 0 and 0 square is equal to 0. So square root of 0 is by definition 0. So that's why when x is 0, this is also equal to 0. That's how we are getting this. Okay. Next, what happens if x is non-zero? Or say, if x is positive, and then we will see the negative case also. if x is positive, then this by definition is equal to x. But what about root x square? What is root x square? Treat this x square as a. So we are asking what is root a? Root a is a non-negative real number whose square is equal to a. Because x is greater than 0 and x square is equal to a, which is nothing but again x square, and that's why they are equal. So we can take b to be x itself. Keep in mind that b has to be non-negative. In this case b is positive, b is x, so we can take x, and that's why this is equal to x in this case. Okay, so according to the definition, when x is positive, square root of x square is equal to x. So again we are having this. Now next we come to the case when x is negative. Then by definition absolute value of x is equal to minus x. Now what about square root of x square? Now this is our a. We need a b which is non-negative and whose square is a, that is x square. That is, we need a b that is non-negative and b square is equal to x square. Note that now we cannot take b equal to x because x is negative and our condition requires b to be non-negative. However, we also have another number which is non-negative and its square is x square, namely minus x. Minus x in this case is in fact positive, and at the same time minus x square is equal to x square. So this is a proper value of b, minus x. So according to our definition, this is equal to square root of x square. Again they are equal. So whether x is positive, negative or 0, this is always equal to this. And that's why people make a mistake when they just simply carelessly cancel square and square root and write this. This is a wrong calculation. This calculation gives you a negative number, but by definition this is a non-negative number. This denotes the non-negative square root of the number that is lying inside. That means this is a, now we need a non-negative number whose square is equal to a, and that number is 1 because 1 square is equal to a, which is minus 1 square, and 1 is non-negative, in fact it is positive. So this quantity is not equal to minus 1, it is actually equal to plus 1. And if you neglect this fact and simply cancel square root and square, then you can prove a mathematical fallacy, this one. 1 is equal to square root of 1 square, but 1 square is equal to minus 1 square. So you take square root on both sides, so you get this. Then you cancel square and square root and have minus 1. Thereby you seem to have proved that 1 is equal to minus 1. But this step is wrong. So that actually does not give you a correct argument. Otherwise 2 will be equal to 0 and entire mathematics will collapse. But because of this careful definition of non-negative square root, this is also equal to 1. So that's how this equation is true. And one more interpretation of this is this: geometrically, this quantity denotes the distance of x from 0. You can see it clearly. Say you have 0 here. If you consider the point 2, then absolute value of 2 is equal to 2, and 2 is the distance between 0 and 2. Instead, if you have minus 2, then its absolute value is also equal to 2, and this is still the distance. Distance is never negative, so absolute value gives us the distance between that given number whose absolute value we are calculating and 0. More generally, this denotes the, or this is the distance between x and y on the real line. If x and y are two real numbers, then the absolute value of their difference x minus y or y minus x is the distance between x and y. And you can, in fact, for that one also, you can take some simple examples. Say you take one particularly nice example would be this one: -1, this is 1, this is 2. So if we want to calculate the distance between 2 and -1, then we can calculate this thing. Say -1 minus 2, x minus y. So that is -1 minus 2 is -3. This is equal to 3. Or if you want, you can also calculate 2 minus -1. That gives you 2 plus 1 equal to 3. So that is also equal to 3. And you can see that the distance is 3. 1, 2, 3. So -1 is 3 units away from 2. Or 2 is 3 units away from -1. Why these two things are equal, that we will see now. That is, why is x minus y, its absolute value is equal to y minus x. This is a property of absolute values. So it's not true only in this case for 2 and -1, it's true in general for any two real numbers x and y. And these are the properties, basic properties. Properties of absolute value. And the first property is that only. In fact, we can start by writing, let A and B be real numbers. The first property tells us that the absolute value of minus a is the same as the absolute value of a, and from this one we easily get this, because absolute value of x minus y is equal to the absolute value of minus of x minus y, which is absolute value of y minus x. Then number 2, it says that if we take the absolute value of the product AB, then that equals the product of their absolute values. Number 3, so absolute value distributes itself over a product, and it also distributes itself over a quotient like this, provided of course that b is not equal to 0. Note that the property that absolute value is 0 if and only if the number is 0 plays a role here. If b is not equal to 0, the left hand, there is no problem with the left hand side, a divided by b. However, what about the right hand side? When b is non-zero, its absolute value is non-zero, so the right hand side is also okay. And the fourth one is by far the most important, that is the triangle inequality. The absolute value of a sum is less than or equal to the sum of their absolute values. So unlike multiplication, when we take addition, we don't have equality, we have in general an inequality, and we can say when equality occurs precisely if a and b have the same sign, or at least one of them is 0, then instead of writing equality occurs, we can write this. If at least one of them is 0, say if a is 0, then the left hand side is absolute value of b, and the right hand side is also absolute value of b, because this becomes 0. So in that case we have equality, and we also have equality if they have the same sign, that is if both of them are positive or both of them are negative. If a and b have different signs, then we have strict inequality. So you can take an example, and this is in fact example 3. So here you can see that if you take the numbers minus 3 and 5 in place of a and b, say, then this is equal to 2. However, this is strictly less than 8, which is 3 plus 5 and this is equal to absolute value of minus 3 plus absolute value of 5. So here the signs are different. 5 is positive, minus 3 is negative, so we have strict inequality. Like that, instead of this, if you take 3 plus 5, then this is equal to 8, which again is equal to 3 plus 5, and we have this. So here 3 and 5 are both positive, we have equality, and the same equality again occurs if both of them are negative. This is equal to 8, that is 3 plus 5. This is absolute value of minus 3 plus absolute value of minus 5. Okay, so if there is a difference in sign, then we have strict inequality, otherwise we have equality. Example 4. Now, an equation involving absolute value. Solve the equation two x minus 3 is equal to 7. Suppose we need to solve this equation. Now there are two cases. We don't know what 2x minus 3 is. After all, it's some real number. In one case, this real number is non-negative, and in the other case it's negative. So we need to consider two cases. If 2x minus 3 is non-negative, then this is equal to 7 if and only if. Now because 2x minus 3 is non-negative, by the definition of absolute value, this is 2x minus 3 itself. Two x is equal to 7 if and only if x is equal to 5. However, if 2x minus 3 is less than 0, then this is equivalent to minus of 2x minus 3 equal to 7, which in turn is equivalent to minus 2x plus 3 equal to 7. Or, okay, instead of writing this, it's better to multiply both sides by minus 1 and have this. Then 2x, adding 3 on both sides, gives us minus 4. So x should be equal to minus 2. Hence, the solution set is, in this case there are two solutions, minus 2 and 5. If we did not have absolute value, then say for example if we had this one, we would have only one solution, but because of the presence of absolute value and thus because of the presence of two different cases, we ended up having two different solutions. Okay, now next we come to the task of solving inequalities involving absolute values. We have seen an equation involving absolute value. Like that, we can also have inequalities involving absolute value. The inequality less than or equal to D says that the distance between A and 0 is less than or equal to D, because we have already seen that this is the distance between the number A and the number 0. So it is directly saying that that distance is less than or equal to D. So this is equivalent to these inequalities. Because if you look in the number line, suppose this is D, this is minus D. Note that for this inequality to make sense, D has to be positive, or actually D has to be non-negative. We can have absolute value of A less than or equal to 0. In that case, it will be equal to 0. But for the sake of generality, we have considered D to be positive. So D will lie to the right of 0 and minus D will be negative, it will lie to the left of 0. Now, for the distance of A to be, for the distance of A from 0 to be within the range D, that is, for that to be less than or equal to D, A has to lie in this region, in this interval. A can be D, A can be minus D, or A can be greater than D and less than, greater than minus D and less than D. A cannot be here, for example, because here the distance between 0 and A is greater than D. For the same reason, A cannot lie to the left of minus D, because here also the distance between A and 0 is greater than this length, which is D. So that's why this inequality is equivalent to these inequalities. Now, based on this understanding of this type of inequalities, we look at example 5. Solve the inequality x minus 5 strictly less than 9. If in place of less than or equal to, if you have strict inequality, then in place of these inequalities you also have strict inequality, because in that case the distance between a and 0 cannot be equal to d. So the points minus d and d cannot be taken by a as value. Okay, now we have to solve this inequality. X minus 5 less than 9, from this discussion, this is equivalent to these inequalities. X minus 5, this is less than 9. Now add 5 throughout. Here we have two inequalities, right? So add 5 on both sides of this inequality, also on both sides of the second one. So here we will have minus 4 less than x less than 14. So the solution set, note that we can in fact go back from here, that's why we are using double implication. So the solution set is the open interval minus 4 comma 14. All the real numbers strictly lying between minus 4 and 14. If you put x equal to 14 here, for example, then 14 minus 5 is 9, whose absolute value is 9, but 9 is not greater than 9, so that's why we cannot take 14. Also we cannot take minus 4. Okay, next example 6. Solve the inequality 5 minus 2 by x less than 1. Okay, one thing we notice in the beginning itself is that since x appears in the denominator, it cannot be 0. In fact, we have to mention that. The inequality makes sense only when x is not equal to 0. So we assume x to be non-zero. Now under this assumption we solve this inequality. 5 minus 2 by x less than 1. So this, now it's usual what we would do in this case, we would do in this case also. That is minus 1 is strictly less than 5 minus 2 divided by x, that is less than 1. Okay, so we now subtract 5 from all the sides. So we have minus 6 less than minus 2 divided by x, that is less than minus 4. Now if we multiply throughout by minus 1, then the inequalities will get reversed. Six is greater than 2 by x, and this will be greater than 4. We can still simplify it more by dividing throughout by 2. We can do that because 2 is positive, and doing that gives us this. Okay, now we want to take reciprocals, and you recall that this is equivalent, or this implies 1 by A is greater than 1 by B only when A and B are either both positive or both negative. What do you think the sign of x here will be? Since x is non-zero, it has a sign, either it is positive or negative. If x is negative, then 1 by x is also negative, that means less than 0. But that would contradict the fact that 1 by x is greater than 2. Or you can argue like this also, since 2 is greater than 0, so 1 by x is positive. So x cannot be negative, x is in fact positive. So that's why we can take reciprocals, and doing so would again reverse the inequalities, and we would have this. Note that x is greater than 0. So not only is x non-zero, but it's in fact positive, and we thus have the solution set. So the solution set is this open interval consisting of all points strictly lying between 1 by 3 and 1 by 2. And finally, one more example, which is like these two examples 5 and 6, but it's also different. It's like them in the sense that it involves absolute value, but it's unlike them in the sense that instead of having less than symbol, we have greater than symbol. So we will encounter some difficulty here. In fact, it has to both the cases are there. So this is example 7. Solve the following inequalities. A is like the previous ones, less than or equal to 1, but B is different. Minus 3 is greater than or equal to 1. So A is quick. This is less than or equal to 1. This is equivalent to these inequalities. Add 3 throughout. You will have 2 less than or equal to 2x less than or equal to 4. Divide by 2. So the solution set is, in this case, since x can take the values 1 and 2, so the solution set is the closed interval 1, 2. Now what about B? the inequality says that the distance between two x minus 3 and 0 is now it's not less than something, it is greater than or equal to 1. So you can better understand the situation if you draw this figure. Now the inequality is exactly opposite to what we had here. So that means 2x minus 3 will not lie in this interval, it will lie outside. It will either lie to the left of minus 1 or to the right of 1, including of course because it's greater than or equal to 1, that equality provision is there. So minus 1 and 1 value can also be taken by 2x minus 3. Hence we have either 2x minus 3 greater than or equal to 1, that is either 2x minus 3 lies in this, on this ray, that is starting from 1 and going towards the positive direction of x-axis, or 2x minus 3 is less than or equal to minus 1, or this ray. Okay, any point anywhere on these two rays has a distance from 0 that is greater than 1 on either side. Now 2x minus 3 greater than 1 is equivalent to, you add 3 on both sides, you will get 2x greater than or equal to 4, which is equivalent to x greater than or equal to 2. And 2x minus 3 less than or equal to minus 1 is equivalent to add 3 on both sides, you will get 2x less than or equal to 2, that is x less than or equal to 1. So the solution set in this case is, it's actually two sets, and so we have to take their union. One of them is the set of all real numbers less than or equal to 1, which is this ray, and the other is the set of all real numbers greater than or equal to 2, which is this ray. So the solution set is their union. You can take any number from this side, say I take x equal to 0, 0 lies here. So if I put x equal to 0 here, what do I get? Absolute value of minus 3, which is 3. 3 is greater than or equal to 1, so fine. If I take a number from here, say I take 2 itself, then 2 times 2 is 4, 4 minus 3 is 1, absolute value of 1 is 1, 1 is greater than or equal to 1, fine. If I want, I can take a higher value, say I can take 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 6 minus 3 is 3, absolute value of 3 is 3, 3 is greater than or equal to 1. But you can see that this inequality will not be satisfied if you take a number between 1 and 2. Say you take 1.5, then 2 times 1.5 is what? 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. Absolute value of 0 is 0. 0 is not greater than or equal to 1. So this is the solution set. So after this we have the exercises at the end of this discussion. So that I will do in the next video, which will again come on Tuesday. I said on Tuesdays I will upload calculus videos, but it's already well past midnight, so it's truly Wednesday. Okay, so see you in the next video.